Hello, hello. Good evening, everybody. Yeah, good to see you. Thanks for coming. We're here for another drum masterclass tonight with Brendan Buckley. Brendan was here. I was talking to him maybe in 2014 and did a great clinic. He's been at the top of the music business in the industry as a drummer, as a educator, as a inspiring people every time he plays. I was listening to him during the sound check. He plays so beautiful, man. It's just like moving around and getting a great sound. He didn't do anything on the drums. He just put it together and play, and it sounded great, right? So Brendan, besides playing with Shakira, besides playing with a lot of great names in Miami, in LA, as I said, he used to teach at MI, he used to teach at other places, did a lot of clinics around the world, including some clinics with one of our faculty members, Achilles. They were just saying that they play a clinic together in Spain years ago, which is great. So anyway, Brendan, it's a huge pleasure to have you here, man. We're all looking forward to it. So without further ado, please, Brendan Buckley, everybody.
This works. Thanks for coming. Welcome to the Drum Masterclass in Pasadena. Thank you. Just some fiddling around. So this is a drum masterclass where this next hour and 45 minutes is for you guys, and we can do it however you'd like. We can do some playing. We can do some chatting. We can do some, if you have any questions, cool. We can, if I have a whole list of things I could teach, but I'm sure you're inundated with lessons right now. You don't want more stuff to work on. But I can show you some things, some funky things to work on. And how about I play a song and then we can chat a little bit. Sound good? Cool, cool. got a drum set out of the way, a drum solo out of the way. We got a song. Now, let's chat a little bit. Since I can't see any of you, does anyone have any questions off the top of your head, your minds? Anyone want to talk about anything right now? You want to bring some stuff up? You want me to tell you a little bit about myself? So my name is Brendan Buckley. I'm a freelance drummer. I grew up in New Jersey. My high school drum teacher was a guy named Tommy Igo. And I moved to Miami to study at the University of Miami School of Music, which is now called Frost School of Music. I studied music education and performance while I was there. And then when I was in Miami, I started working a lot, playing lots of gigs with lots of bands all around the city, working in studios. There were a lot of recording studios down there when I was studying. That's how I actually started working with Shakira. I played drums on one of her albums. When that album came out, they asked if I wanted to be in her live band, and that was 28 years ago, so I'm still somehow playing in her live band after all these years. And then I moved to LA in 2004. Is that right? 2004. Moved to LA, and I've been here ever since. Just a combination of touring, playing local gigs, recording. I have a home studio that I record out of, and teaching, and just living the dream. And I assume that maybe some people here are drummers, and yep, there's one. And maybe you guys have some drumming questions or career questions, and I'm down to try to help out in any way that I can, or I can just keep on playing drums. Anyone want to say anything? Feel free.
How many months a year are you out touring?
How many months a year am I out touring? It depends on the year, and it depends on the artist. Some artists, they go out for 3 months and then they're done. That was their tour, 3 months. Cool. The Shakira tour I'm on is going to be it's going to wind up being about 2.5 years long. We started in 2024. We started in September 2024 rehearsing. And then we played our first show January of 2025. And they're talking about going until... Well, we're in 2025. We're in 2026, so we're going to go to the spring of 2027, supposedly. Yeah, right. And sometimes it's like 2 months without stopping, and then you have 3 weeks off or 5 weeks off. So that's kind of the workload with that. Yeah, the tour I did prior to this one was with a singer named Morrissey. I toured with him for 3 years and recorded a record with him. And it was pretty busy too, but it would just be in little stints. We'd do 3 weeks here, and then 2 weeks here, and then kind of like that. I think the longest thing I did with him was maybe 6 weeks. Prior to that, I was on tour with a singer named Perry Farrell, who's the singer for a band called Jane's Addiction. So he released a solo record, so I played with him for 2 years. That was 2018, 2019. That was a blast. Prior to that, I did a Shakira tour prior to that, and before that, I did a tour with a band called Tegan and Sarah, these twins from Calgary, awesome artists. Yeah, I don't know. I'm lucky to have a lot of friends in the music industry that recommend me for jobs when they open up. And I get a phone call saying, hey, would you be interested in this, or are you available for this? And so I tend to hop from one job to another, because I can only work as much as these artists want to tour or record. If they feel like taking a 3-year vacation, then I have to go find a job somewhere else. So that's kind of the life of a freelance musician. Unless you have your own band and you're also doing that on the side, which you can fill in a lot of gaps like that. I usually fill in all my gaps by doing sessions or teaching and playing local gigs. I got a gig tomorrow night. Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah, you have something to say?
What does your pre-show warm-up routine?
Pre-show warm-up routine. That's a good one. So my pre-show warm-up routine starts in the morning because I'm kind of I take my work days kind of seriously. So I should get a good night's sleep. I often don't, but get up, have a really healthy breakfast, go to the hotel gym, get a good workout, maybe go for a walk, get some fresh air, and then you head to sound check. Make sure the drums are set up right, they sound good through the PA, everything like that. Then I'm at the venue for the rest of the day. So then I'll go to the dressing room, hang out with my friends. I have a little drum pad set up, but it's not just a drum pad. I get kind of nerdy with this. I have 2 drum pads that feel differently, and I have a double bass drum pad, like this, Gibraltar thing with the kicks, and I set that up on a table. And I like to warm up my hands and my feet. I don't believe in just warming up your hands because, we're playing a drum set and what happens from the waist down, that's really important. So I like to make sure that I have pedals whenever I'm warming up. If I had to pick, I'd probably only do my legs because I think it's so important, to sit down with your legs nice and warm. And so I'll just play along, usually to the Bluetooth speaker that's in the dressing room, just playing different patterns and things. I have a ton of exercises and warm-ups I like to do. I can show you them. But for the most part, it's more chilled, just that. I like to be nice and relaxed, change into my goofy outfit, have a light dinner, and then it's showtime. And I try to walk on stage as chilled and brainless as possible, like a Zen zombie. That's how I like to play the drums. I don't like to be super hyper and let's do this, guys, yeah, let's rock. I like to be like real mellow and then let the show warm me up. Like I start playing and I get more excited as I play. I'm like, this is fun, yeah, cool. Yeah, and being a drummer is kind of like you're also the stage manager at times. So I'm always trying to make sure everything's working correctly. My eyes are zooming left and right to make sure that everyone's comfortable, the singer's in the right spot, the guy has the right guitar on. I'm like, that's the wrong guitar. Stuff like that. If there's tracks, I'm making sure that the guy's hitting the right song at the right time. So I'm kind of hyper aware of that stuff too as I'm playing the drums. And then the show's over, little celebration, go back to the hotel, and it used to be find something cool to do in that city after the show and go out with my bandmates. Now it's like go to bed, watch a half an episode of something on Netflix and crash. I used to be like, yeah, what are we doing tonight? I don't do that anymore. That's maybe I should start doing that again, but yeah, that's kind of my routine, and it's kind of like a whole day thing. My off days are a different thing. My off days are like, I'm gonna go find a really cool coffee spot and read a book or something. But my show days, from the moment I wake up, I'm thinking about how can I be really relaxed, loose, good nutrients, ready to play at my best. And then there's always sometimes during the day you find out we're doing a new song that night. You're like, really? Okay. So they send it to you, you write a little chart and learn it before the sound check, and then you rehearse it during sound check and you perform it that night. That's kind of fun, actually, more like flying by the seat of your pants, as opposed to just playing the same 15 songs or same 18 songs for a whole 2 years. I like it when they tell us, oh, we're in this city, she's going to do a duet with this singer tonight, so we're going to add this into the set. That's fun. So that happens sometimes. That's it. Does that answer your question? Yeah, all right, cool. What's your warm-up routine?
Really?
Is it anything like that?
I mean, I definitely agree with the trying to approach as brainless as possible because your brain starts getting in the way. It starts getting in the way sometimes. I'll usually sit there with my pad. If I can get a little setup going with my kick pedal, then I'll do that as well. Just go through some just if I could have the means to be able to like just play along to the set that I'm gonna be playing, then I'll do that and then go at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess there's a difference between, it's a good point, there's a difference between this tour I'm talking about right now and a gig maybe I would be doing in town with an artist I've never played with before, and I just crammed 13 songs in the night before. Then I'd probably be doing a lot of studying in the dressing room. I'd be going over the songs one more time in my head. Yeah, sometimes I have to do that. I'm doing a gig, I'm filling in for someone, or we didn't rehearse, and I just did my best to learn this material as quickly as possible. So then I'm doing some cramming, usually. But sometimes I'll write a set, there's a set list, and I'll look at the set list and I'll put a note next to each song, like, don't forget to stop here. Don't forget the 2/4 bar on this song. Don't forget, I don't write a whole chart, but I write like one thing to think about every song that could be a total train wreck if I get it wrong. That way I can have that. I'm not reading charts, but I have something to go by. A little cheat sheet, yeah. A little cheat sheet. Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah.
Is the things you get hired for, or that you have gotten hired for, like the same or different than your background when you started playing, like especially genre-wise?
Well, I think when I started playing drums around the age of 13, 14, 15, I was into punk rock, heavy metal, hardcore, a little bit of new wave, things like that. That was what I listened to. And the radio, top 40 and R&B and stuff. And then when I started taking drum lessons, I started listening to jazz, all the great jazz drummers, Latin drummers, Brazilian music, fusion music, stuff that I wasn't hip to before, but it became part of the repertoire that I was studying. And then when I moved to Miami, I went from New Jersey to Miami, I got exposed to all this music from South America and the Caribbean, Africa, the Middle East, India, music that wasn't on my map at all. And I started working with a lot of musicians from all over the planet. So I'd be doing a gig with a guy from Dominican Republic, and a gig with a guy from Venezuela, and a guy from Bulgaria, and I'm kind of learning their influences and what they're into, and their favorite songs, and their favorite artists, and their favorite drummers, maybe someone I'd never heard of before. So at that point, I was a bit of a sponge, and I wanted to know more. I wanted to know more about this world of music that I didn't get just growing up in a small town in New Jersey. So then I forgot what I started listening to in the first place. I had this big, wide array of music that I would draw from at that point. And I just wanted to get good at the drums. I didn't want to be a good metal drummer or a good punk drummer or a good jazz drummer for that matter. I just wanted to be good at the drums so someone else would want to play with me. Like maybe if I learn how to play this, someone else would want to work with me. That was my goal. So, and it could be any style of music. If I wanted to play with a singer-songwriter or with a rock band, I just wanted to have that skill set together. So, come full circle, if you ask me what's my favorite style of music to play or what feels natural to me, when I did that tour with Morrissey, I was like, wow, I feel so comfortable because I used to listen to this band, the Smiths in high school. This is so easy for me to play these songs. It's like my, this is my vernacular, I guess. So I think kind of pop rock and new wave and alternative music is the easiest thing for me to play, but I love everything. I love challenge. I love doing styles of music that are not my forte and really trying to get good at it. I don't want to be a jack of all trades, master of none. You go too far where you do a little bit of everything and you're kind of a C- at everything. You don't want to be that. But it's good to be, B+, A- at one or two or three genres, and then just have influences influences from other styles of music. Like I can play a little bit of this, I can play a little bit of that. You know, it's funny. I did a session the other day, and a guy said, "Yeah, this song's gonna be like an Afro-Cuban Peruvian thing. I mean, Afro-Peruvian thing." That's what he said. I'm like, "Cool, got it." He's like, "You know what I'm talking about?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got it." I mean, I know a little bit. I know the rhythm. It's not like I grew up there, but I'm like, "Yeah, I know enough to do this song for you." Just we did it. And he's like, "It's great." I'm like, I know like the basic stuff. I'm not a virtuoso at that, but I know enough of every style to get through a recording session, basically. Yeah. Does that sort of answer your question? Yeah, cool. Yeah.
We've got a question from someone that is actually watching the live stream.
They called in?
Yes.
We got a caller on the line.
Chen doesn't. So it says, you came out of high school thinking you knew Latin beats. Then you learned that there were many variations depending on the region. Can you demonstrate some, and how did you learn all those styles?
So this person has probably heard an old interview of me, because I think I said that somewhere along the way so I'm in Miami and I'm getting a lot of gigs with Latin artists, and people are like, "Oh, you're a really good Latin drummer." I'm like, "Well, I think there's guys from Cuba who could play circles around me, you know. I think I play in time, and I can play songs and arrangements, and I know enough." But what I learned from some really great percussionists over the years is that you can play an accurate folkloric beat for a certain style of music, or you can just play music. Meaning, if I were in a salsa band, I was playing some song from 1970s, I would probably try to stick to the correct timbali part, the correct conga part, or whatever. But then if you're playing with a Cuban rock singer, and he's got, some Latin influence, but you don't have to actually just go full salsa with him. You just have to play like you're an AC/DC, but they're from Cuba, It's like you got to do a little hybrid, and that works well. It worked well for me in Miami, and it still works well. I get hired to play with a lot of Latin artists, but they don't ask me to be like super traditional folkloric percussion player. They say, just play the drums, and maybe there'll be 8 bars of a salsa breakdown or a samba or something, So, but this question that our Lifeline asked about was, I did have a great drum teacher in high school named Tommy Igo, and he taught me a lot of Latin rhythms, but basically we're just scratching the surface. I learned a bossa nova, I learned a samba, I learned a songo, I learned these things. I'm like, cool, I'm good, I got it. Then I got to South America, and I realized there are just hundreds of rhythms in 3/4 and 6/8 and 4/4 from every country, from different cities within countries. They play things differently, and I'm like, what? So yeah, I would be working with Venezuelan artists, and they would tell me the name of a rhythm they wanted. I'm like, I don't know what that is. And they would just sing it to me. I'm like, okay, I'll play that. I'll play what you sang, And or same thing in Brazil, same thing in Colombia, same thing in Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic. I had all these really great friends who would basically just show me a rhythm or sing it to me or give me a CD to check out, and I would add that to the repertoire. Or really great percussionists. I was friends with a guy named Rafa Padilla, who passed away, a really great percussionist named Richard Bravo, who taught me a ton. Just by being on stage with him, he would always show me stuff. It was like a masterclass in itself, just being in bands with really good percussionists. So this person wants me to demonstrate something. So let's see. Well, I played one a little earlier. How about that? So I had to do a song with Shakira with this artist named Mercedes Sosa, who's a famous singer from Argentina. And I had to play a bombo legüero, which is looks like a big floor tom with furry calfskin, cow heads and rope tension. And the main rhythm that I learned was this. And then, so that was, and then I did a tour with a Mexican singer named Natalia Lafourcade. She's from Veracruz. And then she had a song in her biggest hit. It has a beat that goes like this. Sounds the same, right? So one's from Argentina, which is a Colombian rhythm, but they're playing in Argentina, and another one's from Mexico and has a different name, which I'm spacing on right now, but it's the same thing. So if you get this kind of vibe where, oh, I understand, it's that kind of 12/8 kind of feel where the second partial of the triplet is the biggest accent, I got it, and that rhythm starts surfacing over and over again in different cultures, different folkloric music from different areas. This kind of quasi 3/4 rhythm from South America. So I didn't remember the name of the person, but I hope that is something for you to enjoy and practice. What's next? Yes, sir.
Who are the other inspirational influences in your career, whether it be an instructor or artist, that influenced you early on and then later too? Other than Tom.
Yeah. Well, I've had a lot of really great music teachers over the years. Starting with my high school band director, a guy named Daryl Bott, who passed away. But he was, you've probably all seen that movie Whiplash, right? The guy throwing chairs. He was like the orchestral teacher version of that. And in my freshman year, I was like, this guy's a madman. And then I really got into I believed it. I believed his system. And I'm like, he wants the best out of us. Tough love is a real thing. So I really got into it, and by my sophomore year, I was into band, I was into his orchestra, I was into learning, I was into getting better. I had to get over that kind of boot camp, what's the Kubrick one? Full Metal Jacket vibe. But yeah, Daryl Bott, Tommy Igo. When I went to UM, I had a ton of great teachers at University of Miami. Steve Rucker is one of the teachers who I'm still good friends with. I've learned a lot from bandmates I've had over the years. I mentioned him earlier, but a percussionist named Rafael Padilla, who played with Gloria Estefan's band for years, and he was a really fantastic session musician. He taught me so much about groove, maturity, patience. Everyone talks about the space between notes. He really taught me to feel the space between notes and to play musically and to think about tones, low tones, high tones. He goes, if you're going to play the toms, then I'll play the tambourine. If you're going to play the hi-hat, then I'm going to play the congas. He would think about things in real simple terms, like I'll cover these tones, you cover those tones. And we'd record the shows and we'd listen to them afterwards, and we'd analyze the groove and the feel. Are we two on top? Are we two behind? And it was like fantastic. He was my guru, basically. This was I was young and impressionable, maybe 20. I was about 24 years old at the time, so he taught me so much. Some artists with whom I worked taught me a lot. I played with this singer for a while named Nil Lara. He's a really great artist, and I remember he's a great singer, but I also remember he had an interesting groove. He taught me to lay back more than I was used to. He really had this kind of fat groove to the way he played guitar and sang, and I was metronomic, like do-ka, do-ka. He's like, no man, you got to feel the space, ga-gung-gung, gush, ga-gung-gung, like that kind of thing. And I learned to just watch the way he played the guitar and just try to lock into his hands. I learned like, oh, it's better if I don't think about BPMs or time, I just watch the way he plays his instrument and groove with that. So I often, when I'm on stage, I find what I think is the person with the best time on stage, and I stare at their instrument, whether it's a bassist or even a singer who stomps their foot, or a piano player or an acoustic guitarist. I'll usually pick someone on stage and go say, I like that person's feel. I'm going to line up perfectly with the way they strike their instrument. We have a mutual friend named Greco Burato, and I love his time feel. So yeah, we did a ton of tours together, and I would just watch him, and I'm like, who else is, tons of great influences. My father. But more because he's just a eternally positive, friendly human being, and I love it. So many years go by, and I realize that, man, there needs to be more people in the world like this guy. He's so friendly, so positive, goes out every day, meets everyone in town. He's like, telling jokes, and I'm like, I want to be more like that guy. He's my dad, and I still want to be more like him. But I meet great people all the time. Do you know the drummer named Benny Greb? Yeah. I don't know if you've ever met him or saw him play live. He's a superhuman being. There's so many great super drummers out there. They're great players, and then you meet them, you're like, wow, this guy is just the nicest. So I met him years ago. We became friends, and we get together every now and then. He's a very smart human being, but he's also very funny, and he's a great player. So I have very stimulating discussions with him when we go out to dinner. It can just go on and on. Yeah, thank you. I'm sure there's a lot more that I'm spacing on right now. Who's next? Cool. That's all right. Yeah.
In your gigs, how much of it is like sight reading, or how much of it is like just going off of like memory?
Yeah. When I went to school, in high school, I had to read a lot in my lessons, and in college, we did a lot of reading. On gigs, the amount of times that people give me a chart now is like 0.01% or something now. But I still like reading. So when someone sends me, say, 10 MP3s, an email with these songs to learn, I will sit down with my headphones and write charts for all the songs. And because that's still the way I like to learn music, is I listen and I write charts, the BPM, I write the bars, how many bars there are, the rhythms, the kick snare patterns, certain fills that I think are very critical to have. I write those fills in, and then when I start learning the songs, I have my charts up, and I look at my charts while I'm learning the songs, and then when I think I have it, I put the charts away, and I see if I have it memorized, and then so that's how much I use reading usually now, is just a form of my learning process. And then once I have it memorized, it goes in a folder and a Trapper Keeper, and I don't see them again. Yeah, I think learning is really cool. It's a good way to understand music, understand subdivisions, and be able to interpret things very quickly. But yeah, I can't say that people throw music up in front of me and say, play this, very often anymore. That was a thing in, the 90s, but people don't do that much anymore for me. I think if you were in the orchestra, yeah. If you were the xylophone player in the Los Angeles orchestra, you'd have to read every day. If you were doing film scores here in town, film score musicians, they have to read a lot. But for what I do, people just send me tunes or send me a Spotify link. That's usually how I have to learn songs now. Yeah. Yes.
So, what's the best advice you can give to the students to keep the gig for 28 years?
The best advice I can give to keep a gig for 28 years, good question. I would say there's a number of things you can do, but the most important thing you can do is to be helpful, to be a useful person, to be a problem solver, not a problem. I think a lot of people think, I play the drums, I'm good. I can play a beat, I'm good. It's being a working musician is a lot more than just being able to play your instrument. A lot of it is, I can list, 20 things, but did you learn the songs? Do you own a passport? Can you make it to the rehearsals on time? Are you inebriated during all the rehearsals or not? Are you friendly? Are you irritable? Are you a good person to travel with? Meaning, are you super needy and whiny? Or are you a cool person so you can ride on a bus, sit in a dressing room, ride on an airplane with this person? These are all things that people consider when they're hiring musicians. Of course, we want them to be able to play well, but then all these other factors come in. Are they annoying or not? Are they helpful or not? Are they a problem solver or not? Here's an example of being a problem solver. So if someone said, so there's a gig on Sunday afternoon at 4 p.m. at this place. They said there was going to be a drum set there, but I found out there's no drum set there. What are we going to do? No problem, I'll figure it out. I'll get a drum set there. Either I'll bring my own or I'll call the rental company. We'll get a drum set there. Boom, done. If you say, I don't know, you figure it out. If that happens enough times, they're going to be like, man, that guy's he's no help. You can make people's jobs easier or you can make them harder. So I try to think I'm always trying to make everyone else's jobs around me easier. My tour manager, the bus driver, the MD, the artist. I want all of their days to go easier because of me, not more difficult because I'm in the band. So that's, I think, something that you can think about as putting in as part of your skill set when you are a working musician is, sure, I want to be able to play all these styles well and be able to play with a click and all, but am I a helpful person with my workmates? And that goes a long way. It makes you very hireable. It makes people recommend you for other things because they say, man, I used this dude on a gig for 2 weeks and he was fabulous. You might want to look into him. And then on and on and on. Your reputation is very important, so you want to build that reputation as someone who's helpful, a problem solver, hireable. Those are the things I think that really last a long time. And I think the opposite, if you're a pain in the ass, it's probably not going to be a 28-year work relationship. Yeah. Yes?
When you're going into sessions for a new project, how much information are you given, and do you have any personal artistic input?
Yeah, it's on a case-to-case basis. So for instance, some recording sessions, they'll send you the song and it's basically done. And you're just going to replace whatever drum programming they did. That's very common, actually. They send you a song, say, this is the song we're recording tomorrow. Cool. And I just learn it exactly like it is. And then they mute the electronic drums and I play an acoustic version of that. And they say, great, sounds good. That's what we wanted. Sometimes you go to the studio and they have the same thing. They have a song all written out and programmed, but they say, we don't like this. What would you do differently? So then you get to be a little more creative. And you say, oh, I see what you're trying to do, but actually this would be a little more, say you wanted to be more like Ringo, it would sound like this. More like John Bonham, it would sound like this. And you give them some options. That's cool. Sometimes you go to a studio and they have a song written on guitar or piano with no rhythm ideas at all. So they just play you the song, and they say, what do you think we should do here? So then I'll often write out a little chart on just a quick piece of paper. I'll stare at it and say, oh, well, we can try this, we can try that. You give them some ideas. I always think it's good to give them several ideas, not just, here is the beat for your song. Because you say, we can do this, or we can do this. And it allows them to pick. They say, I like B better. Great, we'll go with B. That's a good thing to do when they don't have any ideas yet. Sometimes you go to a studio and they don't have anything put together, and you're kind of just making it up. You know, they have basically a melody or one lyric or a funky bass line or something, and you have to write the whole song in the room there. So it's extremes. The extremes are you're basically replacing electronic program drum parts verbatim, or you're creating stuff completely like from scratch. I like both. They require slightly different skill sets. One is more about execution, and one is more about creativity. Being able to execute is very good, and also being able to be creative with ideas and sounds is also good. So if you see certain drummers are really in demand in the studio, it's probably because they have a nice combination of that. They're really good at executing parts that they're told to play, or if there's no parts there, they're really good at coming up with ideas and cool drum sounds that make people very inspired. Cool. Yeah.
What was one of the most, what was one of the toughest challenges you had to overcome at any point in your career?
A tough challenge I've had to overcome. None. No, I'm kidding. No, the life of a musician is challenging. It is challenging. It's there's so many things that are kind of odd about it. The scheduling alone is a nightmare because everything is always moving, changing, constantly. You can't plan anything. You know, I'm glad I'm here tonight, Marcelo. I'm glad because this could have fallen through if my tour schedule got flipped around. I've missed so many birthday parties and my friends' weddings and all sorts because, you know, I couldn't make it because my schedule got flipped around and this got canceled, this got delayed, this got doubled. And that's kind of, it wears on you. You feel like I don't have agency over my future sometimes. That's something but I'm so used to that. Negotiations in business can be a challenge because nobody wants to pay you more than they have to. It's kind of a rule out there. So if they can pay you less, they probably will. So you have to always be asking for what you think you're worth, and you have to always negotiate when the budget isn't quite there. And I just wish it was like there was a rate out there for drummers, and we all got it, and it was just guaranteed. This is it. But it's not like that. It's every time I get offered a job. I've been doing this forever. It's like, bring, hey, are you available to do this thing? Yeah, I actually am, you know. Yeah, so how much would you charge? I would charge this much. We can't afford that. So would you take this? Well, that's a little too low. How about we meet in the middle? Okay. It's like you have to have that discussion over and over and over and over again. I just wish it weren't like that, but it is. Maybe I need a sports agent like Scott Boras or something to do all the talking for me. But what are some challenges? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's a little hard being away for a year. You feel a little disconnected. I love touring, actually. I love traveling. I love my job. I'm not complaining about it. But when you go away for 8 months and your friends think you don't even live in that city anymore, you're like, no, I do. I'll be back. You know, I swear. You know, that can be a little disconcerting. I don't know. Drums aren't that hard. For me to sit here and complain about my job is actually hard. I don't find it that tough. I love practicing. I love playing. I'm a nerd. So when I love practicing hard stuff, I love learning songs. I love sleep deprivation and flying across the planet to do one show and coming back. All this stuff is fun for me. A lot of people complain about it. I'm like, I'm cool with it, you know. But yeah.
In your vast career, have you ever had to sub out, and how was it handled?
I have subbed a few gigs. So this is what I try to do. If I am on a gig and I have to sub it out, I usually try to do it in a way where nobody has to suffer because I'm not going to be there. Meaning, if say I'm on tour and there's one date I can't do, and I say I can do this whole tour, but I can't do November 28th. It's not going to happen. But I will provide a drummer for that date who will be so good and so prepared that you won't even have to turn around. It's going to sound like me. And I'll hire one of my friends and I'll teach him all the music. I'll go top to bottom with him, you know, and I'll make sure that he flies in and he's prepared and he shows up and boom, nails the gig, leaves, and everyone's like, your friend was incredible. I'm like, I know, right? So that's usually how I try to sub out gigs. I don't say, you're on your own. I mean, there's been times where I've even like I bought the plane ticket for the guy, or I paid for the visa for him to get to the country if he needed it. I'm like, you know what? I'll cover that. He's doing me a favor. You don't have to worry about it. I don't want anyone to say like I'm making it more difficult for the organization. I'm like, it's the same. There's gonna be another face there, but he's gonna sound just like me or better, and you're gonna be happy. And that's happened a lot. I've had because of schedule conflicts, one thing's overlapping another thing. I've had to get a sub to fill in for me, but I train the guy so he sounds fantastic. So the band's happy, the artist is happy, the manager's happy, and then I'm like, oh, maybe they're not going to call me back. The guy was so good. But that happens, so I don't mind. It's good to have a roster of peers in Los Angeles that are all really like monsters on their drums, and you trust them, because then we can all help each other that way. I have several drummers who I know I can call, and I know they're going to slay the gig. And I've been that guy for other people. So I know, like, someone calls me up and says, dude, can you do me a solid? I'm like, you got it. You know, don't worry. It's gonna be great, you know, and then I do that for a friend. And it's a fun system of subbing for each other, you know. That's normally how I do it. I don't like subbing out gigs, but it has to happen sometimes if schedules overlap. You know, you thought you had it all worked out, and then they say, actually, that one's going to be a week later. And you're like, oh, but I have another thing, you know. So, yeah. Yes?
Yeah, could you go into a little bit more about like how you got some of these tours and the difference like in the beginning of your career when you weren't as well known versus like later?
Yeah, let me think. Let me go backwards. So, yeah, one of the gigs I got, I was at University of Miami. I was in a practice room practicing the drums. A guy knocked on the door. I opened up the door, and he said, hey, I'm a singer. I just recorded a record. I'm signed to BMG, and I'm putting together a band. Would you like to audition for my band? I'm like, sure. It was that casual. And I did. We made a band, and I toured with him for several years. And he's one of my best friends. And that all came from him just knocking on my practice room door. And then I was doing a recording session once at a studio in Miami. And while I was there, the musical director of the artist Julio Iglesias, the older Spanish singer, called the studio, and he knew the producer, and he said, we need a keyboardist for our tour. We just fired our last keyboardist. Do you know anyone? He's like, I don't, but he asked me, hey, do you know anyone who could play piano? I'm like, yeah, my best friend can do it. So I got the info, he got the gig. 2 weeks later, that piano player got me the gig because they fired the drummer left. So I went on tour with Julio Iglesias for 6 months because I recommended my friend at a random phone call in a studio. The Shakira gig happened because I was called to. Did I already tell this story? I probably did. So I'll tell it again. So I got called to play drums on a record in Miami, and the artist was Shakira. Didn't know it at the time. They just said, we need some live drums on this batch of songs. I went in, I played on them. And then when the album came out, they said, she wants you to play on the live shows because you recorded drums on the album. So I did that. We did an MTV Unplugged together, and the band that she has now is basically the band she had in that MTV Unplugged in 1999. So it all came from that. A lot of the gigs I got early on were just from either working with someone and they'd recommend me for someone else, or sometimes playing live shows. I'd be playing a live show and then someone would come up to me afterwards and say, hey, can I get your number? I think you'd be good for something else, or I'm putting together this little project. So the more you work, the more you work. It's kind of weird. So yeah, the more you're around making music in front of other people, then they think about you when there's availability or a need for somebody. And if you're just hiding in a cave somewhere, but you're really good, no one's going to think about you for those jobs. You know, you almost have to be kind of visible for people to say, hey, you'd be good for this, or I thought you'd be good for that. I'd be nowhere if it weren't for all of my friends who vouch for me. That's basically, it's word of mouth is 90-something% of it is word of mouth. I mean, sure, you can have a website or an Instagram page or a LinkedIn profile, but really it's word of mouth. That's how most of the jobs happen. Bless you. The Morrissey gig happened because the MD for Tegan and Sarah recommended me to the MD of Morrissey. So the two MDs talked to each other and said, I need a new drummer. He goes, call this guy. I got a phone call. I was at a pool party with my kid. I got a phone call, and he's like, hey, are you available to do the Morrissey gig? I'm like, sure. When's the audition? He goes, no audition, just can you be at the rehearsals, in 2 weeks? I'm like, sure. I'm like, no audition. He's like, the other guy said you were good, so we trust you. I'm like, okay. So it's like if people vouch for you, that goes a long way. Then it's up to you not to fail. They recommended you, don't mess it up. That's kind of how it works. So when people ask me, what they should do when they get out of school, usually I don't know if my journey can apply to anyone else's. Someone else might have a completely different game plan or journey, but I would say play. Play as often as you can with other people, because it just snowballs exponentially when you play with this bassist or this singer, and then another singer sees you and another guitarist sees you, and it starts to branch off like that. It's all just from being out there playing. I think that's the best way to network and to really expand your peer group of musicians, your work opportunities.
So you mentioned like playing a lot with percussionists.
Mm-hmm.
I guess like as a drummer, how do you play with a percussionist but without like stepping on their toes or like playing too much?
Yeah, great. How do you play with percussionists without stepping on their toes? Yeah, a lot of it is don't double their parts. That's a big one. A lot of percussionists hate when you're playing what they're playing. Very simple. Like, you can think about things like, okay, if they're going to go, they're doing that, then you probably don't have to do this. So you just hear it's the same frequency range and rhythm, so you don't have to do it. Do something else, whatever. It doesn't matter, just do something else. So. Just Don't play what they play. If they're going to boom 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 boom, cool. Don't do this. Because they'll look at you and say, dude, I got it. What are you doing? Do something else. You know, that is, to me, one of the biggest rules that people don't teach you, but you have. If you hang out with percussionists and they give you that kind of stink eye, it's probably because you're just playing their part. And then, you know, then grooving, you know, really like, you know, he could have one feel, you could have another feel. You got to meet in the middle, you know, how he feels it, how you feel it, kind of glue each other together. That's something I learned a long time ago, is like, I have to glue my feel to the other people around me, you know, so we kind of like mix together. It's not like, if I'm just really stiff, everyone will follow me. Everyone will follow me. That works sometimes. But really, when you're on stage, you want to get everyone's time feels to all meet in the middle somehow. That's another one. So meet their time feel. Don't copy their parts. And I think that's it. And then just, you know, get lunch together and hang out and talk about music. And those are the best things, I think, to get along with a percussionist. I don't know. Yes?
Could you speak more on like gelling with other musicians, whether you like them or not, or maybe you just are meeting them for the first time, you know, and you guys are trying to fill each other out. Like, could you speak more on maybe your experiences in those moments and like some insight towards that?
Yeah, no, and you're talking about gelling not in a time feel way, but in like a friendship, like camaraderie way? Yeah. Yeah, I think like a good, I mean, having people skills is kind of important. So a good thing you could start off with is look for common interests between you and other people. So you can meet someone for the first time and you might not know anything about them. And you can say, where do you live? What neighborhood do you live in? And they can say, I live in Pasadena. You do? I went to school in Pasadena. You know, where do you live? And you're immediately getting to know them better. And then you look, you know, where did you grow up? Well, I grew up on the East Coast. So did I. Where did you grow up on the East Coast? These are common interests. Then you can get into who's your favorite bassist? Who's your favorite drummer? What music did you listen to when you were 14 years old? Did you see the new Mandalorian Grogu movie last weekend? You just talk. You just talk and see maybe stay away from politics for the first couple days. Politics and religion, not great topics the first day. Do you like sushi? I love sushi, or something like that. So, and then you become friends. Humor is a great bond. So find things that you both think are funny. I feel like that's a really good one. Like if you're on tour and you all like whatever, everyone loves Curb Your Enthusiasm. Let's watch Curb Your Enthusiasm tonight as a band, you know, like something like that. It's a television show if you guys don't know. So, humor is a great bonding thing. So I think I've been in bands where the members of the band could not be more different as far as upbringing, where they're from, the way they play music, the music they listen to. There could be Mr. Classical over there. There could be the dude from the street who taught himself how to play his instrument, you know. But you all just somehow find a way to get along, and it's really helpful if everyone gets along. If you start making camps, like these two dudes don't like these two dudes, it's not going to last long. It's very uncomfortable. You know, it doesn't work that way. You have to find common interests, common ground. Yeah. Just try to laugh together. Yeah. Spend time together. Yes.
On the Shakira gig, how much of the show is on click, and what kind of stems are included in a show?
Well, it's changed over the years. If I were to talk about the current tour, let me think. I think the entire show is on Click now. Yeah. It's when I started, zero. It was just a rock band. It was like we're like Aerosmith with Shakira up there. You know, it was a rock band. And then we added like a loop here, a loop there, and then the first sampler, the first laptop running. Who knows what Studio Vision is? Opcode Studio Vision. It's an old program, so that's how long it was. It doesn't even exist anymore. Before Pro Tools, basically. Yeah, and then little by little, they found reasons to add a little more. And it's not her gig. It's just performances in general now run a lot on Click because they sync up the light show now is to Click, and the smoke and the fireworks and the explosions and the confetti and the sparks and the lifts and everything. It's all on the same computer Click, you know? So that's why it's kind of like you almost have to do it now to do a stadium show. To just go out there and just rock out. That's very rare. I remember I saw Kiss a couple years ago, and I'm like, oh my God, it's just 4 dudes playing their instruments. This is great. There was nothing else. And I'm like, wow, people still do this. I love it. But yeah, a lot of pop tours now, there's always like you hear it like, gick, goop, 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 and then you're on, you start going, right? As far as stems, a lot of that stuff, stems are basically the tracks that they get from the recording sessions. They import them in and they hide them under the live band, right? So you can have some background vocals, and that's called the background vocal stem. It's a stereo audio track. So a lot of that stuff comes from the actual albums. So because everything now is recorded on Pro Tools, you can just open up the session, drag something out, and email it. So we find we're going to do a new song, and we get the tracks, and we're going to use the horns from the session. So we import that into the computer, and there it is. So there's a horn stem. If you put like 106 stems into a computer and push play, it's a lot of noise. And a lot of front house engineers don't like that. They're like, there's too much, you know? So you really try to pare it down, minimize it a bit, so everything can breathe a little more. There's a difference between mixing music for speakers in a studio and mixing it through a PA in a stadium. You know, it's just gonna sound muddy if you're trying to pump too many frequencies out at the same time. So most of the engineers I know, they start muting stuff and really, you know, getting things cleaner sounding through a PA so it's very punchy. I mean, speaking of that, the tour I'm on right now, if you're not hitting a drum for a certain song, he mutes the mic on it. And you have to tell him, like for instance, if I have a side snare over here, a little 13-inch snare over here, he'll ask me, are you using that at all on this song? I'm like, I was going to, I'm not sure. He goes, well, let me know, I'll turn it on. I'm like, so because he has every mic that you're not using, he'll shut it off to make everything cleaner and louder and punchier. So I have to tell him, you know what? I'm actually going to play the second verse on that snare. Is that okay? He's like, all right. And he unmutes it, you know? So you have to tell him because that's how much he's focusing on the sound and the frequencies and everything coming out to the PA. This is inside baseball, nerdy stuff. But yeah, does that answer your question about that? Great. Yes, Marcelo.
So, talking about the jack of all trades and master of none, right? And was there a moment in your career that you were playing so many different styles and different gigs that it felt like it had to narrow it down? Or that happened naturally, like with the artists that you were playing the gigs?
Well, yes, there have been times where I think I'm spread out a little too thin and I'm not doing everything at a high level. When I lived in Miami up until 2003, I guess, and I was doing every kind of gig in town. I was doing a lot of jazz gigs. I was doing a lot of rock bands. I was just jumping around, doing all these styles of music. And I look back, I'm like, that was good, but how good was it? How good was I playing? I'm not sure. When I moved to LA, I really, really focused on my drum session recording technique, tone, pocket. I really honed in on that. I came here with an objective of really being a drummer that records very well. So that became my my kind of obsession for a while. So I kind of like put everything else to the side, fusion music, jazz music, you know, all this stuff. I want to be able to sound good under mics, really steady, be able to tune drums really well. So I really focused for a while. And then I got into playing other styles of music again. You know, it's like you contract, expand, contract, expand. It's okay. I think you need to spend some time focusing, but you also need to spend some time absorbing and practicing all sorts of different influences. I don't know. Hopefully, if everyone here is a drummer, I don't know if we all are drummers, but hopefully you'll be doing this for the rest of your life, so you'll have tons of time to focus and expand and focus and expand and go back and forth. That way you can, you know, you can experience all of it. Does that make sense? Cool. Anyone else right now? Yes.
So I went on tour last year for 4 months. I toured with a surf rock band called Igor and the Red Elvises, and you know, like it was a blast. I really appreciate my time with them. You know, like we toured in a van, you know, played shows every night all around the country, and you know, the money wasn't great. You know, so my question to you is, how do you get bigger gigs?
I've done a lot of gigs that haven't paid well, but a lot of them have led me to gigs that paid better. So, yeah, the gigs that pay really, really, really well are highly coveted, and they're rare. I can name like probably on 2 hands, like the gigs that I know that the drummers in those bands are making bank. But for the most part, it's hard to budget a tour. It is. I know lots of managers with gasoline prices and hotels, and they're like, oh, it's hard to even make this, you know, break even. So I understand when certain tours can't offer a really high salary, and I actually will do tours for very low salaries sometimes, as long as it works out well for me. Meaning, sometimes someone will call me up and say, can you do this tour with this artist? And it only pays this much. I know it's not a lot. I'm like, okay, well, how long is it? Like, it's only 2 weeks. I'm like, for 2 weeks, I could totally do that. Yeah, no problem. It's like you're doing them a favor. Yeah, no problem. I'd be happy to play those 2 weeks with you, you know. If they told me, yeah, it's 2 years, you have to do it, you can't sub it out. I'm like, I can't live off of that wage for 2 years. You know, but 2 weeks, totally. You know, it'll be fun. It'll be fun, and maybe it'll lead to something else, because I'll meet this bassist and that guitarist, and we can do another project together. So sometimes I do a lot of gigs that, you know, you would think on paper they're not worth it, but they can be worth it. As long as it fits your lifestyle and what you need to you know, cover your overhead. That's a big thing. How big is your overhead, and then can you make that work? So your question was, how do you get bigger gigs? And I do think it's just working and doing a good job on one gig will lead you to another one, lead you to another one, lead you to another one, and hopefully each one will get a little bit better, like that. Yeah, I remember some of the gigs I was offered when I was 18, 19, laughable prices, like $200 a week. And I was like, yeah, I loved it. And it's like, you can't live off of that. But I mean, at the time I was like, man, this is amazing. You know, they're going to pay me to sit in the back of a van for a couple of months, and it's going to be great. But, and then you kind of build from there, right? Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, you have to be more valuable through your own experience and your own, what's the word? Your resume. Your resume will get bigger, and that'll make you more valuable. Wow, this guy did this, and this. He's got to be pretty good. So we have to pay him at least this much, you know? Does that make sense? Cool. Yeah. Is that another question over there? Yeah, go ahead.
How did you balance like gigging while also going to school? How did you balance that?
Yeah, well, it's funny. The question was, how did I balance gigging and going to school at the same time? I picked the University of Miami because it was in a major city. Because when I grew up right outside of New York City, and I thought to myself, well, I don't want to go study music for 4 years in the middle of nowhere. I want to go someplace where I'll be in a city, where I can go out at night and see other musicians, meet other drummers, learn from them, be inspired, maybe occasionally sit in for a song. Maybe after a while, I'll get to play a gig or two. So that was the whole objective, was not just to take drum lessons. It was to go out at night and experience live music and to meet professional musicians that were working already. So that was my goal from my freshman year. So it meant a lot of late nights and really hard to get up for those 7 a.m. classes. But yeah, it was, I think by the time I was a junior in college, I was already working like 5-6 nights a week and studying in the daytime. So my dream was happening, but I was exhausted. But it was like everything was a great experience. I thought to myself, this is all feeding into my practice and my learning. Yeah, I wouldn't have done it any other way. It was totally fun. It was a lot of work, but it was fun. Yes, sir.
What about balancing the workload with family and all the stuff that perhaps you had to miss throughout the years because of work?
Yeah, so that's a hard thing. If you're a full-time working musician, you have to sacrifice a lot. You have to sacrifice a lot of, like we talked about earlier, things that other people get to do. But if you manage to meet a partner that still wants to date you, maybe get engaged, maybe get married, maybe move in with you, maybe even spawn together, you have to, in my opinion, it's only my opinion, you have to really give your spouse and your child or children something to look forward to, because music is a very selfish life to do this. I'm obsessed with this instrument. I think about it all the time, and I want to do it all day long, every day. But you have to have a side of your life where you're like, I promise that we're going to go to the pool together on Sunday. I promise we're going to go see that movie together. We're going to go out to dinner on Monday night together. We're going to whatever. Saturday night we're going to play Uno in the dining room together. You have to put things in your schedule that are dedicated to your family, or else they're going to take a back seat. So I think I learned this. And maybe I didn't do this that well when I was 21, but I learned it maybe by the time I was 27, 28, 29, that this is important. When I'm on tour, I'm always calling my family, always, FaceTiming. And I'm always thinking about when's the next time I get to go home, or when's the next time they get to fly out and hang out with me. That's always a conversation, because I don't want it to be like, see ya, I'm going to go be a rock star. No, I want it to be this constant connection, right? And lots of things to look forward to. Hey, when I get home, we're going to take that trip to Big Sur, or we're going to go out to Joshua Tree together when I get home. You have to have things to look forward to, or it's not really worth it for for your better half. So I think that's the balance. And then balance also mentally. You can get burnout if all you do is think about music, which I do a lot. But if all you do is think about music, you can get burnout because you don't have an outlet. You need to have other things that make you feel human, whether it's just going jogging or reading books, or, I don't know, having a friend that's not a musician that you get breakfast with every now and then. Something that makes you feel like you're an actual human being, not just a musician. Musicians are aliens. You want to be a human being. So Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Yeah. How are we doing? So, how about I play another song? Because I've been yapping like crazy. Yeah, we should do some drumming, right? I'm gonna play a song or two. Okay? Sound good? All right. Do that thing. Any questions? I'm gonna play another song then. Yeah! Yes, sir.
What's your click sound like?
My click. It's
Does it change with it or subdivision?
my favorite kind of click is a quarter note click with a soft eighth note underneath it. So get to, but it's not get to. I actually have a sound that I've been using since 2001, literally. This certain rim click that I used on a tour once, and I got so comfortable with it that I asked the engineer, could I have that sound? He gave me the sound, and I've used it on everything I've done ever since. I put in this specific click sound. It's like but it's very pleasing to my ears. So some people like kong, kong, or dup, dup, weird sounds. I don't like it. I've done tours with other sounds, but I'm so used to this one sound that I used on a tour in 2001 that I've been using it ever since. It's not routed where you can hear it, but I'd play it for you. But it's a rim click sound that I'm very comfortable with because you can make it where you can be loud enough where you can hear it while you're playing, but it also blends into your music. Like certain clicks, they stick out so much. Dong, 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 dong. Like there's no way of making that feel musical. But if it's like, when you're playing, you're like, it's kind of sounds like there's someone just going with you, right? So I like clicks that can kind of blend in. Not so much that it disappears entirely where you're like, where am I? Where am I? But yeah.
What in-ears do you use?
These are, the in-ears I'm using are Jerry Harvey, JH. For years I used a company called Future Sonics out of Pennsylvania, Marty Garcia. And then, it was around 2015 I started using JHs, and it's kind of the industry standard right now. There's so many good in-ear monitors now, but most tours I do, they're JHs. Yeah. What's up, guys? Anything else? Yes?
What's your favorite tour that you've done or like
Favorite tour? Let me think. There's different things that made tours good. Some were, we went to a lot of cool places. Like the 2005 to 2007 Shakira tour I did, we went to a lot of cool places. So that was a memorable tour. We did like Egypt, India, Africa, like a lot of like Eastern Europe, places I don't normally get to go to. So that was a lot of fun. There are other tours where the music was a lot of fun. There's an artist I used to play with named Beto Cuevas. He's a singer for a band called La Ley, and they're from Chile. I did his solo record and his solo tour, and I just remember that being so fun. The band was funny. We laughed all day long every day, and the shows were super rocking. Like I don't always get to play like hard rock music, but those we rocked pretty hard on those shows, and so I remember that being really enjoyable. That was 2008. I did a tour with a guy named Damien Rice. He's a folk singer from Ireland. That was a fantastic tour because it was very musical, meaning when I got hired to do the tour, I was replacing a different drummer. I got flown out mid-tour using someone else's kit, and there was no rehearsals. They didn't even send me a set list. They just said, come out, we need you ASAP. So I showed up, I'm like, can I study? And I just follow, like follow along. I'm like, we're playing these arenas. I'm like, all right. So I would just go on stage and just look at people and just come in like, now? Yeah, okay. I'd come in and sometimes the bassist would give me like, the bassist was great. He would give me cues. He'd walk over and go like that, like we're like drop out now or something. Just something simple like, and he'd go like come back in again. Like he was real subtle, but I'm like, God, he was a lifesaver. But after, a week or two, I felt pretty comfortable on that tour, and I kind of liked it that we didn't rehearse. The singer never told me what to play, and I just got to play drums and do whatever seemed to work. And it was, the artist is, if you've never heard of him, he's so good. He's a fantastic guitarist, singer. And so it's basically like he can play solo. He doesn't even need a band. But there was a band on stage playing along with him. But if we all stopped playing and went to lunch, he'd still play the show and kill it, you know? So there's something kind of enjoyable knowing that he's such a strong frontman that I can almost do nothing to derail the show, so I can just play music. And he's also very artistic. So he would actually tell me sometimes things like, hey, I love what you did last night on that third song of the set. That was great. I'm like, cool, thank you. He's like, do something different tonight. So you think, like, he's like, I love what you did, do it again. He's like, I love what you did, try something else. I'm like, well, okay. So it really challenged me to be creative every night. I'm like, okay, looks like I'm playing mallets on everything tonight, or I'm doing brushes, or I'm going to drop out, or I don't know, less subdivision, more subdivision, you know, louder, softer. It was the closest I've had to doing a jazz gig in a pop context. So that was very enjoyable for me. To be honest, I get hired to do a lot of gigs for artists who I don't even know who they are until it's over. Like I get hired to play with someone who's extremely huge in some country and I don't even know it until I get there. I'm like, oh my God, this is like way bigger than I expected. And then I find out, oh, that person's kind of a legend or something. So it doesn't really hit me till afterwards when someone tells me, oh, dude, you play with that guy. He's enormous in that country. Yeah, those are some of the ones that stick out to me. Fun gigs.
There's another question online
Okay.
from Iris.
Iris.
She said, I'm curious to know who Brendan would like to work or collaborate next for a dream project.
Dream project, that's good. That's good. When I was younger, I was a big Police fan, the Police, and I always thought I would love to someday play with Sting. That was when I was in high school. That was like a dream gig for me. Sting, Prince, Peter Gabriel. Those are some good ones when I was in high school. More recently, there are artists I love, Nine Inch Nails, and I would love, I mean, he always has great drummers. He doesn't need me. But if it ever happened, that would be a gig I'd love to do. Depeche Mode. I like Depeche Mode, and they have a live drummer on stage, even though their albums don't have live drums. That guy's great too, if you've never seen him, the guy who plays with them. But I would love to play that music. There's a band called Massive Attack from England. I love their music, and I would love to play that music. What else? Those are some ones that come to mind, Iris. Yeah, those are the first ones that pop into my head. Yeah, was there a hand over here?
Can you do like a cymbal rundown?
Yeah. Shout out to Sabian. This hi-hat is a 14-inch Artisan Elite. It's called Artisan Elite. There's Artisans and Artisan Elites. Artisan Elites are even kind of darker and smokier. This ride is also an Artisan Elite. I think it's 22 inches. Okay. The crashes I use a lot with Sabian for all styles of music are called Legacy. This one is a 18-inch Legacy. I usually use a 19-inch Legacy on this side, but I opted for this 19-inch HHX Complex. It's just the pitch is just a little lower than a 19-inch Legacy. You know, they sound actually similar, but this one's a little lower. China cymbals drive like 99% of the world crazy, but I love them. So you have to really find a China cymbal that doesn't make people want to stab you in the ear. So this one is a 19-inch Paragon China. I love this China. It was kind of modeled after a Neil Peart China. So this one, I think they took one of his and kind of copied it. So this is a nice sounding China. I have other Chinas at home that, yeah, people would be throwing chairs at me if I were hitting it too much. So this one seems to get by where I get that sound that I like, that trash can sound, and no one wants to shoot me. So those are the cymbals I'm using tonight. I do use the Legacies on everything. I love that sound of the crashes. And the other one, and the Paragon I use on kind of everything. These Artisan Elites, I just decided to go with them tonight because I thought it might be good for the room. Yeah. And this snare drum is actually mine too. I was telling Marcelo that I got this in college. I bought it off my drum professor. It's a Ludwig Superphonic 5x14 that is from the 1970s. I got it for $25. Yeah! And these Yamahas are the school's Yamahas, and they sound killer, right? I'm gonna put this in my trunk. It's really good. Yeah. What else? Do we have something else?
What is the most important lesson that Tommy Igo has sort of taught you in furthering your career? Because I'm sure you must have learned a lot from him being under his tutelage.
It's a good question. I mean, when I studied with him, I was 15, 16. So we weren't talking about career stuff at that point. We were talking about singles and doubles and paradiddles and things like, and reading big band charts. But he really kicked my butt, and he really did a great job, like just throwing massive amounts of material at me as quickly as I could ingest it. Really big inspiration for doing that. But I do remember when I was around 17 years old and I was flirting with the idea of pursuing drums. And I after one of my drum lessons with him, I asked him, hey, I got to ask you a question. He's like, what's up? I said, I'm thinking about doing drums as a career. I think I might, when I go to college, I might study music. Do you think I have what it takes? I mean, and be totally honest with me. If you look at me and you say, you'll never make it, kid, I can handle it. Just tell me. And he laughed, and he's like, yes. Do I think you could be a musician? Yes. Do I think you should be a musician? No. He said, the life of a musician is very difficult, very challenging. Tommy's dad was a drummer, and he didn't want him to be a drummer, and he did it anyway. So he told me this, basically saying, if I tell you you shouldn't do this, and you still go and do it, it means you really want it. He goes, the world is filled with too many people who say, you can do anything. Follow your dreams, it'll be easy. It's not easy. You need actually more people saying, I don't know if that's a good idea, and you do it anyway because you want it that badly. So he kind of taught me that lesson. He goes, I'm going to tell you no, and let's see what you do. And I said, all right. And I went, applied for school, went to college, and started working. And he was like, I knew you could do it. I just want to say it, I thought that was a good lesson. Because he's like, I can coddle you and say, you're going to be fine. He goes, you might not be fine. And then you're going to be mad at me for saying that it was going to be easy. He's like, you could do it. I don't think you should. Let's see what you do. So that was one of the pieces of advice he gave me. And I thought it was a good one. He's really good with the tough love stuff. So, I mean, that was a good one for me. So we got about like 1 more minute. Does anyone else want to toss anything out there, or like any questions, advice? I'm having a great time chatting with you guys. I could stay here all night, but I know, you guys are busy. So anything else you want to chat about before I hit the road?
Can you play a little jazz?
Play a little jazz? Sure. So let's see. Here's something. See, I wanted to teach something. Here's a warm-up I do for jazz. How about that? So you can practice this. I got this from a friend of mine named Dan Weiss. He's a drummer in New Jersey, a really great jazz drummer. And so imagine I'm going to start off like this. Imagine I'm going to play quarter notes with all 4 of my limbs very quietly. feathering all the drums like this. Easy, right? More or less. So now I'm going to pick one of my limbs. I'm going to start with the right cymbal. I'm going to play a rhythmic figure. I'm going to treat it like a motif, like a solo motif. And then I'm going to try to pass it around to different limbs while maintaining the quarter note pulse with the other 3 limbs. Does that make sense what I'm going to try to do? I'll show you. So here we go. Like that. And you can just keep on doing that as a game, just seeing if you can take an idea, just pass it ride, snare, kick, left foot hi-hat, ride, and just seeing how far you can go with that. And it's a great balance. It's a great independence exercise. You can really dial in your touch, your dynamics and everything, but it's also an independence exercise. I love doing that. That's a great warm-up for me. When I have like 5 minutes to kill, I sit down, I just do that, and just explore. What can I do with this hand, this? Can I do that all off of a quarter note pulse? It's fun. How's that? Cool. All right, guys, I really appreciate you coming out, and I hope this helped. I hope you got something out of this. I hope you can go home tomorrow and think of something you want to practice or something, that's thought-provoking or inspiring. And if you ever have a question, you want to hit me up on my website or something, just shoot me an email. We can stay in touch. All right? Sound good? All right. Thank you to LACM and Marcelo for inviting me out, and totally appreciate this. All right?